So I think that Cam Akers actually might be one of the more interesting draft picks that we're seeing. I think this could actually be a very good move for the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, we saw how last season when Todd Gurley went down and really wasn't the same, how much that hurt their team. And I do think that adding Cam Akers, I think that could really help them. I do kind of believe that the Rams, they're not, I think the depth of the Los Angeles Rams has been greatly exaggerated in my opinion. I do think that, I think they can still definitely be very good in the future. And listen, they had an MVP candidate turn into a role player last year, and they still went 9-7. This is a team that can absolutely still make some noise. I think Cam Akers could be a huge part of that. Like, let's just start things off with this play. We'll get into film study and start things off with this play. What's going to happen is that it's going to be that blocking concept on the right side of the screen. So you have two defensive linemen are going to be blocked by two offensive linemen. You also have number 6 there going to run up and block number 4 on the defense, meaning that that player right there will be the one who is unblocked right here, which really means that this could be a bad situation potentially for Akers if he's not able to get past him. But really, they're just trying to gain some yards. You don't really worry too much. You kind of just say, okay, you know what? You'll probably get tackled, but if you can make one guy miss, you could be off for a touchdown. And if you can't, well, at least we'll gain a couple of yards. That's kind of the way this play works. And right after the ball is snapped, pretty good job by that linebacker getting in position to try and tackle Akers. So good job by him. And that really comes down to, will Akers just be able to, maybe get around it, but probably just fall forward. However, I think you guys realize if I'm making a video talking about the pros and what I like about Akers, why I'm bringing this play up, it's because he is going to get around that linebacker and run the rest of the way for a touchdown. And that's just, those little things mean so much. Being able to get around one player, oftentimes that's the difference between a 3-yard run and a 30-yard touchdown run. The margin can be that small. And I do think Akers is one of those guys where he can absolutely find a way to make some pretty, big runs just by making those one guys miss. And I think that could really fit into a Los Angeles Rams system where he can just sort of, he's a hard runner and he's not necessarily the easiest guy to bring down. Another thing I like about him is his vision, and it'll be shown on this play where what you're seeing on the screen is that the left guard and left tackle each have they have a double team with an interior lineman, so you also have a tight end in game blocking another lineman, and basically that's where Akers wants to run the ball to. It's going to be either, on one side or the other side of the double team, just because, typically on a double team, you're going to move somebody out of the way, creating a bigger gap than there will be anywhere else on the line. So makes some sense. That is where Akers is going to look to try to run the ball to. But right after the ball is snapped, notice how the tight end does not do a very good job of making his block here. I mean, again, tough tight end going up against a defensive lineman. It's a mismatch, but, clearly the defense took advantage of that mismatch in a big way. The gap that Akers wanted to run the ball to and is currently looking at is completely shut at this point, so he cannot try to run the ball in that direction. Now, there is something that is open. Right over there, there's a gap over there he could try and run through. But again, it's really difficult to notice that. You have an idea in your head of what you want to do. You start doing that. When that doesn't work, you really have to have your plan B already set up in your head. You have to already know what your next best option is. And he probably does because he is able to run in that direction and once again get into the end zone for a touchdown. This play is going to bring up one other thing that I like about him, and that's what he can do in the passing game. I mean, listen, the Rams, they do like to have their halfbacks, be effective in the passing game from time to time, and I feel like he's a pretty good pass-catching running back. I think that's something that he can do pretty well, and I think that I can definitely see them using him in that kind of way. Like, on this play, what's happening is that it's going to be man coverage. And so typically what you would expect for a halfback is typically they run very basic routes. And so he's going to kind of start off doing that, running towards the bottom of the screen, maybe just get to the flat, kind of just be a placeholder where, you kind of take somebody out of the way. Maybe there's a miscommunication and he gets open or he is able to outrun somebody. But if not, at least you're now taking a player out of the way where you have no other routes running into. So that tends to be what you do. But for Akers on this play, they're actually going to have him make a move and then cut to the middle of the field, which is interesting. It clearly shows the faith that Florida State has in Akers, that he can run these types of moves because, a lot of teams would not be doing this kind of thing. So Definitely very interesting right here. And after the ball is snapped, I mean, you notice that linebacker, he's expecting this, Akers to continue running towards the bottom of the screen. That's what most halfbacks do on a play like this. But again, they have faith in Akers' route running ability. They're going to have, they're going to ask of him to do a little bit more than typically you would ask of for a halfback to do, and it's going to work out as he is able to cut back over the middle and even make a pretty good catch. He kind of did the thing that where, you jump when you don't have to jump, which is something he probably shouldn't have done, but he was trying to make sure he stayed in front of everybody. Again, didn't have to jump for it, but it got him to touchdown, so, you're not going to complain about a touchdown play very rarely, but definitely, yeah, maybe a nitpick there. Don't have to jump. Really good route ran there by him, though, and he finished it off with a touchdown, so as a whole, very good play, I think, despite the one nitpick I do have on a play like that. I think that, it's interesting. He looks kind of skinny a little bit. He's 5'11", 216 pounds, but he just kind of plays a little, I won't say he plays skinny, but he kind of looks skinny out there. He looks like he's almost like, his body type isn't one you see on a football field too often, because he's 5'11", which is, I guess, a bit on the taller side for a running back, and it's not like he's this Derrick Henry type, but at the same time, he definitely can play big, I guess is what I would say. That's what I'm trying to say here. This plays an example of that, where the left tackle and then also a tight end will be going out to block those two defenders right over there. And then they're also going to actually pull the right guard over, and he will block the other linebacker in the area. But keep in mind, there's two linebackers, so one of them could potentially get over and try to make this play. And that Virginia linebacker is going to do a very good job at getting over and trying to make this play. So good job by him. But now basically it's a similar situation to that first play. It's a one-on-one matchup. If Akers can get around him, he can have a huge run. If he can't, well, then it's not going to work out too well. It's just one-on-one. Who can beat who? And what is Akers' crazy move that he's going to try and pull off? Well, it's really hard to pull off a move because, while the line did create a big hole, you can't really do too much when you're also running through the hole because then someone could reach out and grab you. So he's just going to run straight into the linebacker, overpower him, and keep running and be able to gain a bunch of yards. Will that work in the NFL? Probably not. But at least in the NFL, he'll be able to probably fall forward. Maybe he can do that against some of the weaker guys. Again, the talent is just so much higher in the NFL. There's not those types of guys you can just sort of run over with these, so it definitely will affect him to some degree, but at the same time, if you can dominate in college, you can probably do pretty good in the NFL. That's always kind of been my mindset. One last play I want to talk about is this one, where what's going to happen is that you're going to have two Florida State players basically block the two players on the edge like that, the two Louisville players, kind of try to get them away from the bottom of the screen. It's going to be a run to the bottom of the screen, so that's why they're doing it. Little creative, but nothing too outside the box, and it works out pretty well. I mean, you look, well-blocked play. Akers is able to easily get up sort of towards that 5-yard past the line of scrimmage area. He can definitely sniff the first down marker right here. What a lot of guys would do is, run to the inside. Because of the Louisville player who I have in that box and the way he's facing, he's totally ready for Akers to try and run in his direction. He's trying to force him to the middle of the field, so that way Akers will get tackled, if not by him, by one of his Louisville teammates. His whole thought process right here is don't let Akers get to the outside of me. Don't let him get closer to the sideline than me. Make sure I force him towards the middle. And yet Akers is still able to juke him out and get to the sideline. And even, he goes down, but he goes down hard. He definitely, again, hard runner for sure. And I think that's one of the reasons why Sean McVay and the Rams were like, you know what, let's pick this guy up. He can definitely fit our offense very well. I think that, I think the Rams kind of show that they do need at least some quality running game to be successful, and I think he can really bring that to them. I mean, they went from that insanely good rushing attack 2 years ago to rushing for just 3.7 yards per carry, which was sixth worst in the NFL. So, that's definitely a huge drop-off. Obviously, the Todd Gurley injury hurt them a ton, I think. And even with that, they were still a fringe playoff team. So I think adding Akers, someone who could definitely help out their rushing game a lot. Again, he's also not going to help their offensive linemen get younger, but he still is going to, I think their offensive line might be a bit overstated. I think that if you get a good back there, I think they'll probably play a lot better. I think Goff can play a lot better once he has a good running game in front of him. He showed that 2 years ago. He was fantastic. I still have a lot of faith in Goff. I still have a lot of faith in the Rams. And quite frankly, I've made this comparison before. It's very reminiscent to me of the Seahawks from a couple of years ago when they had Blair Walsh. They went 9-7. They missed the playoffs, and everyone was like, here we go. Seahawks are dead. Seahawks aren't going to do anything anymore. And then the Seahawks went right back and made the playoffs. I believe it was 2 straight years now. So I can really see that happening with the Rams. I think that the demise of the Rams has been greatly exaggerated, in my opinion. Maybe I'll be wrong, but I don't know. At the end of the day, as simple as it is, sometimes you just have to say, you know what, I'm going to trust a team with a really good head coach and still a very talented roster, and that's the Rams. Good quarterback, good coach. You don't need a ton else. I think that they still have a ton else, though. I think this is going to be a playoff team next year, probably. I mean, I'll have to look at it and really see, and we'll have to see what happens with the rest of the offseason. But I really like this pick. I think this pick has definitely, in my mind, this might be the best value pick, getting someone who probably, at least in terms of next year, will help his team the most with the value you're getting him. With a second-round pick, I don't think anyone is going to help their team in the second round more than Cam Akers will help the Rams. That's my mindset. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. What do you think about this pick? And what do you think about the Rams heading into next year? Could they potentially be very successful like I think they could? Always love hearing from you. And, of course, as always, thanks for watching.